warm welcome to Podcast for Business with me, Steve Twynham. Podcast for Business is all about helping businesses to share knowledge, expertise, details of workshops, events and seminars with the wider business community. Today's podcast is brought to you in partnership with Network B2B. If you'd like to business network in a structured and relaxed environment with groups across the UK, Network B2B is well worth a visit. If you'd like more information, check out networkb2b.co.uk. In this podcast, I talk leadership with Barbara Nixon. Now, Barbara helps business owners and managing directors improve their productivity and lead with confidence. Barbara is also author of the book simply called The Boss Hat. I talk with Barbara next in this Podcast for Business.
Like to share news about your business, event, seminar or workshop? Simply email steve@stevetwynham.com.
It's a pleasure to be joined on the line this afternoon by Barbara Nixon. How are you?
I'm really well. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Enjoying the sunny weather. We're off with some sunshine.
And me. Hooray. It's about time, isn't it?
So Barbara, you're over in Leeds.
I am.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about personal development, I guess, today, and growth and coaching and many things. So tell me a little bit about what you do around in that coaching world and leadership.
Okay, well, I'm a leadership coach, and what that predominantly means is that I focus on growing leaders. So I spend an awful lot of time working one-to-one with people, leaders at all levels, whether they're managers, directors, business owners. It doesn't matter where they are on their journey, just helping them out, improving their mindset, improving their confidence, really improving their productivity so that they can just be the best leader that they can be.
And Barbara, I guess that's the old adage, isn't it? I think there's a difference between a manager and a leader.
Oh, I don't know. We can get into this debate for ages, can't we?
Yeah.
In my eyes, I like to think of everybody as a leader. I don't differentiate between a manager and a leader. It doesn't matter who you are in terms of your journey, in terms of where you are in the structure. I think everybody's got leadership potential. Okay,
so you help just bring that leadership potential out.
Bring that out, because we all get stuck at times, don't we, Steve? So it's just about giving support, giving skills, and helping them get past their blocks.
I think we get stuck at times, and I think we also ask that question. I know I asked myself that question once maybe more than once, to be honest. I was running a food company at the time, and I'm sat there thinking, how the hell did I get here?
I think we've all done that, haven't we?
Yeah, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, but that question, like, why me?
Yeah.
What happens now what happens if it all goes wrong? Those type of questions go through your head, don't they?
Of course they do, because we're only human. It doesn't matter what job we do. Yeah. We've all still got our inner critic talking to us all the time. And that question that you've just described perfectly, that says, hang on a minute, what am I doing here? How did I end up here?
Yeah.
Do I really know what I'm doing? You know, that all those questions do swim around in your mind, regardless of what you do.
I remember once an old director, well, I don't mean old in years, somebody I used to work with, he'd moved from the group I was working with and he'd gone to another group. Mm-hmm. And when I ended up in the general management position, he actually rang me and said, "Hi, Steve, congratulations." I went, "Thanks, Ray." And he went, "I want to let you know I'm here for you." And I went, "You're here for me? What do you mean? You don't work in the group?" And he went, No, doesn't matter. I'm here for you. He said, if you thought being a sales director was lonely or looking at running it, you know, you're in a lonely place and you may want to bounce ideas off and share stuff. And I'm forever grateful for him to that.
Yeah. What a fantastic thing for somebody to say to you.
Oh,
yeah, that shows what a mentor that you had there.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. And, now and again, I wasn't on the phone every week or anything like that, but we had the discussions and it was that usual thing. I won't make the decision for you, Steve, but kick it around with me and then you can make your mind up. So I found that invaluable. So let's talk about then the leadership and thing. I'm just touched on there about there was I thinking, how have I got here? So what kind of things hold people back, Barbara, in that developing
Oh, all sorts. Exactly what you've just described in terms of that inner critic, that self-doubt, those conversations that we all have in our own head, but also just everyday things, like the enormity of the task, the work that we've got to do, the juggle that is very real about juggling work and home. I'm not a massive fan of the term work-life balance, but it's a term we all know, isn't it? And it's a term that we all use. And it is understanding about how to manage everything, all aspects of our life easily, or without causing overwhelm, I think is probably the right way to describe it.
Without causing all that stress and anxiety that goes with it. Because I guess, the step as you develop and you move into these leadership roles, and I say, if you've not had that support and guidance with you, it can seem overwhelming.
Absolutely, it can. And I think you were very lucky that somebody reached out to you and said, I'm here. But not everybody has that opportunity. They might not have worked for a huge organisation. They might not have peers that they can turn to, or they might not have anyone in their circle that is in the same boat. So, but it doesn't mean that it's not needed. It doesn't mean that you don't need somebody to chat to about it.
And just bounce ideas off. And thinking about that as well, again, I'm just reflecting back on that, because I don't know if you ever come across this with, somebody's got in this role, and there's always, you tell me, that there could be a doubt that, wait a minute, the people above me know what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
The people who report into me should think I know what I'm doing. And I'm sat here going,
what am I doing?
What am I doing? So it's vulnerable's not the right word maybe, but it can be a scary place, can't it?
It can be, and it can be a lonely place as well.
That's a better word.
Yeah, it can be a lonely place, especially when you feel as though you should have all the answers, even though, when we all know deep down inside that we don't have to have all the answers, because we are all only human beings, aren't we? And we wouldn't expect anybody else to have all the answers, but all of a sudden when we get in that position, we think we have this belief that we should know what we're doing, that we should have all the answers at our fingertips ready just in case somebody asks us. And that's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves, isn't it?
So how do you work with somebody then, within that type of role? How do you get involved?
Right, so there's two types of service, I think is probably a great way of putting it, that I offer. The first one is to work one-to-one with people, so spending time with them, either face-to-face or on Zoom, online, and having a conversation, having a development conversation that's very much grounded in with a foundation in coaching, to talk about all the things that are holding them back and to really work through it on a one-to-one basis. And the beauty of having those regular conversations is that, one, it's consistent. So you're getting that development, you're getting that support that we've just chatted about consistently, but also you're able to be vulnerable, again, as you've just described, and up about all the things that are going on in your head and that you really don't want anybody else to know.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and again, that's something that we all do. And then the second service that I provide is very much is online. So a couple of online programs that people can come and work with me online. And I do this on a group basis. So if they're not able to work with me one-to-one, or they really don't want to, they can come and hang out with me in a online program and still get support and skills, but on a much more, group way.
Okay, and I guess that could be a benefit, couldn't it? Because you've got various interactions could happen then. Yes,
in terms of having it in a group.
Yeah,
definitely. And the feedback that I get is phenomenal. That one, it's easy to join because you don't have to leave the house. It's all online. You don't even have to get dressed if you don't want to. But it's about having that support from other people that are going through the same journey, that reach out and say, yeah, I've done that. I'm having that problem. I've been there and this is what worked for me. And yeah, that's invaluable, just having that accountability from your peers.
And Barbara, when you're doing those groups, because again, I'm just surmising, initially, do you find sometimes there's a little bit of reluctance to open up, and then as they develop, they open up more because it's that awful phrase, isn't it? They feel in that safe space.
I think certainly in the groups that I've had, when people join, they're ready. They jump in because they're ready. So they kind of jump in with both feet. And I don't seem to see a lull at the beginning.
Okay.
But they just dive straight in, which is fantastic for me to see, because I know then that they're open and they're ready for those next steps.
And how do you help with the overwhelm then? Because again, I these things are coming to me as we talk now. I remember doing a talk to North Yorkshire County Council one day, and they asked me to go and do a wonderful talk about that wonderful subject, time management. And I went, oh, really? I'll do one, but it won't be like you've seen before. And I have to say that they're all walking around with the lanyards on. They'd all got, not all, but the file of faxes. They'd got list upon list, and they'd got list on the fridge doors at home. They've got that much to do stuff flying about. Nothing's getting done. How do you help with somebody with that overwhelm?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, when we talk about time management, because we automatically expect these tips, don't we, of let's do these lists and what have you. The thing is, what I've noticed, certainly in my experience, that a lot of things stem from your mindset. And time management is no different. It's how you view time. It's that feeling that you get at the end of the day, isn't it? That when you look at your to-do list, do I feel as though I've done enough, or I've achieved what I wanted to achieve? And it's finding techniques that help you to get to the end of the day and go, actually, I've achieved now. I feel great. Because often when you get to that point, and we've all done it, and I'm sure you have, Steve, when you get to that point, you at the end of the day, you think, oh my, I've had a fantastic day. I've done all of this. And you've still got energy, and you're still motivated, and you're still, wound up, and you can go home and do a million other things and feel, fantastic. It's when we have those days where we go, I've done loads, but I don't know what I've done, or I've not stopped today, but I've not achieved anything that I wanted to. And then, it saps our enthusiasm, it saps our energy, which then, it can infect all areas of your life, can't it?
You just go home and sleep.
No, you just binge watch on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll watch Peaky Blinders for the next 4 hours. But yeah, you're right. And it's interesting what you say there, though, Barbara, as well, because it has knock-on effects, doesn't it? Coming back to that phrase again, that work-life balance, if you're feeling good, it reflects everything back in your life.
Completely. It does. It really has a knock-on effect on all aspects of your life. It's not just at work. It's, how you interact with your family. It's having energy in the evenings. It's being able to do your hobbies and the things that you enjoy, and not having to catch up at the weekends, and just having time off that hamster wheel.
Yeah, that treadmill. Again, do you think, as well as we're talking here, again, there's lots of talk, isn't there, within business about achieving targets and all that. And yeah, I know they're there to be done, but there's not a lot of talk sometimes about having fun.
Yeah.
Because shouldn't business be fun as well? Shouldn't you enjoy it?
Well, I think so. I'm all about fun. It's one of my core values. Yeah. If you're not having fun, what are you doing? But yeah, it comes down to culture of the organisation, doesn't it? And also what you class as fun, because you can enjoy what you're doing, can't you? And you don't have to have forced fun and activities all the way through the day, but just create a really relaxed and brilliant place to work.
And again, when you bring in values in, because sometimes you could have tension within an organisation because the values of the individual could be different to the organisation, and that could create a bit of feeling of overwhelmed and stress, couldn't it?
Potentially it could, yeah. I mean, values are really important, and having your values match where you're working is vital, because when you do, all of a sudden you've got that mismatch, haven't you? And you don't feel as though what you're doing is in alignment. And then there's always the question of whether you're in the right job, or having that conversation with whoever, or looking at whether you're actually just needing a bit of motivation at that time.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's these life experiences, I think, that get you to where you are now, don't they? Really, it's a wonderful phrase. Every day is a learning day, but every day, a learning experience. Just take things from these things. I'm just thinking about that as well. I want to use the phrase, "Don't beat yourself up."
Yeah.
And I guess you help with that as well, getting people to see things in the right frame of mind as well. Coming back to that mindset, it's how do they frame something?
Yeah, how they look at what they're going through, how they, talk to themselves. They're in a dialogue, and also how they view, situations that they're going through every single day, and not always viewing through the same lens. And you're right, reframing things and just starting to look for the positives. Because I tell you what we all do is we've got this habit of looking for the negatives, don't we? And sometimes we just need to start to focus on the positives to remind ourselves that it's not all doom and gloom, that we're doing a good job. Yeah,
let's look about what went well today as opposed to what went well. So, that overwhelmed. When people are talking to you in the group sessions or one-to-one, then do you give them like little tasks to help them move forward around that?
I absolutely, I do. And it all depends on where they are at the minute and where they want to be. Because often what happens, Steve, is that we spend so long looking at where we are now in terms of where we're stuck, or we see the block, or we see the negatives, rather than focusing on, well, what is it that we want? What does a good job look like here? Where do we want to be? Where do we want to go? Not so much in goals, but what does success look like? And that's always a question that I ask everybody that I work with. Well, what does success look like for you? And I think those last two words are really important for you.
For you, yeah.
For you, because your success and my success could be completely different. And it's important that we actually understand that. And sometimes your own idea of success is not as far away as what you think. It's just about, one thing that I do, it's probably a mantra of mine, is that small tweaks can give big changes. You don't have to change the world. It doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel or doing something completely different. Just, smooth off the edges or do a tiny tweak that day to reap some huge rewards.
I love it. And again, from a leader perspective, what a great question for the leader to talk to their team about. What does success look like for you?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So what does success look like for you in terms of the individual, their department, their role, and the part that they play? Because you'll get an awful lot of insight there, won't you? But also it's really lovely for the individual to start looking at that and zoning in on it and doing some, deep thought around it.
And Barbara, how do I'm interested to know from some of the people you work with, how do they what's the word I'm trying to look for here? When you say goals to them, how do they see that? Because do people see it as some, oh God, not those goal setting things again? Do people see it in different ways? Because what does success like? Well, what does a goal mean to you?
Yeah, it's not a word that I always use, isn't goal, because I think it depends on your background. It depends on the weight that it carries for you, So we do talk about success in terms of what that looks like, because that can turn into a goal. It's just about terminology at the end of the day. So it's about, regardless of whether you talk goals or success, it's about where is it you're heading? What's your roadmap? How will we know when we've got there? How will you know whether you've got there, and what will it feel like? That it's not so much what it'll look like, but what is it going to feel like when you get there? Yeah, what does it feel like to you? Yeah, I ask as well because I remember working with somebody and we were talking. I think somebody was running a workshop and they talked about goal setting, and somebody went, "Oh, I don't do goals. I don't set goals." Mm-hmm. So we went, "Well, did you set off with anything that you wanted to do today?" Well, yeah, I wanted to do X. Well, okay, just talk about. That's it. That's your goal, isn't it? Yeah. It's like that's that. If you get into your car and you use a sat nav, is what do you put into your sat nav? You don't just say, "Oh, I want to drive around for hours. Give me a bit of a ride." Although I quite like that. It'd be nice on occasion. But most of the time, we've got a destination that we want to get to, and that's what we put in. So that's all it is. It's not about take some weight out of the word goal, and it's just destination. It's just where you're heading.
Yeah, maybe. Do you think that sometimes we get too hung up about the words that we use? And
yeah, potentially. I think, I think we can get hung up about so many things, can't we? And sometimes, especially when it becomes a buzzword, if it's a word that's been used over and over again in the past, or people have kind of clung to it, we can get tired of using the same words.
Same phrase. So there's somebody there. They're in this role, or they're developing. is one of the first things, I guess, let's just think about this, is self-awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, it's key. It's key to everything that I do, is just raising your self-awareness. Because once you've got that, everything changes. All of a sudden, you know, you can see yourself differently, you can read yourself differently, and you become aware of how you're interacting with people and your own behaviour. Yeah,
and work out, hey, what am I doing here? So, and again, from that leader thing, so you've got that self-awareness thing, and then you've got that bit, I guess, about leading you.
Yes, vital. And I don't think it's something that we talk about as much as what we should, because often when we talk about leadership, it's in terms of, I think, in terms of leading other people or leading your job or leading, you know, projects. It's kind of an external thing. But in my perspective, it has to start from yourself, because you are the role model. You're the one that it all projects from. So it's about how you understand yourself as a leader, how you understand, you know, how to manage your time and your day, how you're role modeling everything, your behaviours. What is it that you want other people to see from you and perceive you as? And I guess you could say it's around your personal brand as well in there, but it's very much about leading yourself on a day-to-day basis.
Because again, it could be, you know, again, you touched on it there about people see it as leading a team or whatever like that. But you could be, again, where we started from when we said about the opening the conversation, lead yourself and develop yourself. You could be a team of one, couldn't you? It could be you.
Absolutely. Of course you could. Yeah.
So lead yourself.
Definitely. Understand how other people see you, how you're going about your day, how you're getting the most out of your day, where your stumbling blocks are, where you hold yourself back, how you're getting your own way. All of those things that, again, happens to the best of us. You don't have to have a team. You can be thinking about, actually, how do I make myself the best leader and spread my message far and wide effectively.
I remember having a conversation with somebody they didn't work in the same company as me, but I knew them, and they worked for themselves, and they used to have Jeff 1 and Jeff 2, same person.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. And Jeff 2 at the end of the day would say to Jeff 1, how have you done today, Jeff? And looking at his day, he'd either go, very good, or it's been a bit of a iffy day today. Yeah. And Jeff 2 would sack Jeff 1. Okay. This is what he did. But the good news is I could always employ myself the next day. And all it was him having this conversation with him, this internal dialogue to become better. And God bless him, this guy became, in 4 years, became a millionaire just using that process.
Wow. You know what? Whatever works for you, find a technique that works for you and carry on using it. I suppose it's very similar, I suppose, to journaling. You know, people do that, but writing. So they'll probably ask themselves questions in a notebook and answer the questions. Well, he's just doing it out loud. So, you know, I like that. I think it's fantastic. It works for him. Yeah,
it works for him. And Barbara, are there some common traits when you see people? I want to use the word sabotage their own success, because I know I've done it in the past. So do you see some common things happen with that self-talk?
Yeah, I think in terms of sabotaging your own success, one of the common ones that I know we've probably all done at some point or another is procrastination, isn't it? Where we put stuff off and where we know we should be doing something and we're not. And it might be something really vital to your day. It might be something vital to your business or to your team. And yeah, we're still not doing it. So that's a really common way of just sabotaging your own success. Other ways is, another common way is starting again. So you get to the end of something and then you go, oh yeah, I've had this really good idea, another good idea, I'm going to do that first, or I've changed my mind about this, I'm going to do something else, or in order for me to finish this I need to do XYZ first. So it's just never quite getting over that finish line. So those are probably the two main things. I mean, I could go on for ages, but two main ways that people can sabotage their own success. That and you know, maybe spending lots of time doing lots of different things, like multitasking, but never actually completing anything.
Sorry, I read something the other week where somebody within the coaching world was working with a client, and they so one of the questions they ask is like, so how many hours a week are you working? And this guy came out and said something like 100 hours. He was a solicitor looking to be a partner in the business. And the coach I was talking to said, when I ask that question, very often people overestimate how much they're working because they count some of the working time as sat around the water cooler or chatting or on Facebook or on LinkedIn or whatever. They're not actually working.
Yeah.
But in this case, this guy was actually working 100 hours.
Wow.
And talking about, again, this is talking about the values. He works around values, and he just got this guy to write some values on. They put him on the board, and his top value was family, right? Time freedom or something like that. And then the solicitor, just burst out laughing, and the coach went to him, what's he laughing at? Is he laughing at my scribby writing or whatever? And he said, and then I burst out laughing. I said, what are we laughing at? And he went, well, we've just solved the problem, haven't we? He said, my top value is family. And here I am working 100 hours a week, chasing a rainbow. And he was liberated within
seconds.
Seconds, right? And the coach said I was a bit reluctant to charge him, but it can be like that, can't it? I bet you must work with clients that have these massive liberating moments and go, thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, so it can happen, and it's wonderful when it does happen. And often, I mean, again, that example that you've just described is perfect, where it's just saying it out loud or seeing it like the client that you described, seeing it on a whiteboard or, because the problem is that so often we spend our life in the weeds, just doing the doing, and we don't allow ourselves to kind of go above the, and have a helicopter view, if you like, and see different perspectives and see different ways of working. We just end up on that treadmill, on that you mentioned earlier. Yeah. And whilst we're there working away every single day, yes, we can be productive, but it doesn't often give us some space to think about whether there's a different way of working.
And I guess as well, thinking about that, it's also finding a bit about your meaning and purpose, just why you're doing what you're doing. What's your reason why?
What's your reason why? See that. And allowing yourself some headspace to think. I think that's so important that, again, it's not often that everybody takes that time, whether even if it's just 15 minutes, to do something different, to turn off in some way, whatever way that works for you. For me, it's taking the dog for a walk every day. All of a sudden I get those light bulb moments, those fantastic ideas. But just because your brain needs some time off too, to do a bit of admin. It needs some time off to just have a bit of a clear up there, and why working 10 to a dozen all through the day, we don't give ourselves time to just have those bright ideas. Yeah,
no, they take that time out of the day. Well, a guy said to me once, he said, I don't know how you do what you do. He said, do you never stop? I went, yeah, quite often actually.
Yeah.
I often pull up in an afternoon and just have 20 minutes just clearing the head and off you go again.
And it's vital, isn't it? I mean, we spoke earlier about you going for a bike ride this afternoon, and it's sunny out there. I've just been sat outside having a cup of tea as well, and you just need it. You need to snatch those moments in time just to fill your own cup up. And again, that's something I talk about a lot, is that you can't serve anyone when your own glass is empty. It doesn't matter how well-meaning you are, how much you want to help other people, or how much you've got to do. If you're not looking after your own needs, then you're not going to be able to provide for everybody around you. So
Barbara, you work one-to-one, you work in groups, you do speaking engagements. Yeah, so you're busy, and you book.
Yes. So the book, I wrote that a couple of years ago now, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Time flies. Called The Boss Hat, and that's it's a self-help book. It's like a workbook kind of book, if you like, where you go through loads of different exercises. It takes you through all sorts of different questions so that you can work through at your own pace. And it's something that it was a brainchild of mine for a long time, and it just kind of, I carried it around with me. And it's the essence is about understanding you as a leader rather than just trying to be a clone of other people around you.
Oh, I like that. I like that, because some people do, don't they?
Well, I think we've all been guilty of that at some point, because we try and the book's called The Boss Hat, and it's about creating your own boss hat rather than trying to wear somebody else's, whether that's the culture of the organisation that you're working in or other managers that you've worked with in the past. It's natural, isn't it? We look to other people and think, oh, what do they do? They're a manager. They must be doing the right thing. So I'm going to be doing something similar. And you adapt and tweak things, but ultimately you gather things up along the way of behavioural traits. And then after a while you think, oh, I don't feel right. I don't like it. It feels tiring. And it's because it's not always you. It's about looking at your own values that we've talked about and how you can create your own boss hat that's just as effective.
And that's an important message, isn't it, about being you?
Yes. There's only one you.
There's only one. Yeah, God forbid. Yes, there's only... No, again, because I think it's important, what you described there. Again, I'll give you an example. I once, within a corporate group, I was going for an internal promotion. And I had the usual good cop, bad cop scenario in the interview. And one of them said to me, so you're a bit of a joker then, aren't you? I went, right. Oh. So if you get this job, how are you going to change? And for a second, I went, I'm not.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah, I am who I am. Mm-hmm. That's me. And I came home and my wife answered, how did it go? I went, I don't know. I said, I don't know whether I've blown it or not. But and then the other guy, the good cop, rang me to say I'd got the job and went, right answer.
Right, brilliant.
He didn't want you to change. And so coming back to that, it's about being you, isn't it? Because I could have said, oh, I'll quieten it down and, I'll do this and I'll conform. But you know what? I would have been so miserable. Well, I wouldn't have got the job probably anyway. You
probably wouldn't, but you would have been miserable and you would have, people can sense that, you can sense when somebody's not being true to themselves. And it's not about being unprofessional or, being unruly at work or anything like that. It's about
rebellious,
anything. It's about having your own values and your own sense of humour and, and not being this Jekyll and Hyde kind of character where you're one person at work and one person at home.
And that's it. That's an interesting point as well about in terms of leadership and things like that. Because I've worked with people, maybe you have, they blow hot and cold. They're not consistent in their leadership style. So one day they're like, and the next day they're, hey, and is there a bit about being consistent? Because how does your team react if you're that inconsistent?
Yeah, again, it comes down to your own personality. I'd question whether they're inconsistent outside of work as well, and it's about building trust with your team, and them understanding what you're like and you understanding what they're like and sharing a bit about your personality and your own home, experiences in your personal life, just so that everybody can get to know each other, because that's ultimately how we build trust. It's about understanding and getting to know somebody else, and that's just as important at work as it is at home.
Okay, so look, you've got lots of things going on, you've got lots of ways that you help people. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so if you just search for me on LinkedIn, I'm under Barbara Nixon, and I'm happy to connect, and I post every single day on there. My blog and website is barbaranixon.co.uk, and I'm also on all the usual channels as well, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, but my main playground in social media is LinkedIn.
Okay, so you're all over social media, as they say.
Yeah. I've got an idea, if you like, a presence on them, but yeah, mainly on LinkedIn. I spend time there. Okay,
and you're based in Leeds, but I gather, like we're talking via Zoom, you can work anywhere, can't you?
Absolutely. It's exciting to be in the time where we are able to do that, aren't we? So it's it doesn't matter where you are, I'm able to work with you.
And from your website and things, you've whether they're a big corporate client or a small company, it doesn't really matter.
Wherever you are on your leadership journey, it doesn't matter. It's I don't work exclusively with CEOs of big companies. It's leaders of all levels, no matter where you are and what you want to progress to.
Brilliant. Well, just give us that contact details again, Barbara.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Barbara Nixon. My website is barbaranixon.co.uk. And if you want to drop me an email, it's info@barbaranixon.co.uk.
Okay, so if you want to overcome all those things that are holding you back, stop sabotaging your success, get your mindset right, you now know where to go.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
A big thank you for taking the time out to listen to Podcasts for Business. Podcasts for Business, all about helping businesses share knowledge, expertise, details of events, workshops and seminars. If you'd like to get in touch, you'd like to feature your business or let me know about an event, all you need to do is simply email steve@stevetwynham.com. Also check out podcastforbusiness.co.uk. Podcast for Business is produced and presented by Steve Twynham. Copyright applies.
Like to share news about your business, event, seminar or workshop? Simply email steve@stevetwynham.com.